Do you ever wonder what will be missed after you're gone? We all, our lives come to an end, right? We've talked about that many times before. But have you ever thought, what will people remember about me? I think we've all thought about that. Let's talk a little bit more about that today. Life can be quite the bending road. Sometimes it's nice and gentle, and sometimes it's a bit scary. The truth is that we will all experience a difficult bend in our road at some point. But it's also true that God will see us through. Let's travel this bending road together and help each other in our journey. Please remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to catch other videos along the way. Hey, welcome back to the Bending Road. Glad you could join me today. Really excited about the weather changing, and we're in May, and you can feel the warmth. I do wish it would stop raining long enough to get outside and do a few things, but weather is getting warmer, and we're past the threat of snow, and I'm really pleased about that. Yeah, I'm wondering, I've been thinking about what will people remember after I'm gone, and maybe it's not just after I'm dead, but after maybe when we leave this place. I mean, we know as pastors we're not here forever, and so at some point we'll leave. What will be remembered? What will be missed? Not just about me, but what hole will I leave in this place? What gap will be there? Who will pick up? Who will be the successor on those things that need to continue, that are important? And I was reading in Acts this week from Acts 9. This is verses 36 to 43. In Joppa, there was a disciple named Tabitha. In Greek, her name is Dorcas. She was always doing good and helping the poor. About that time, she became sick and died, and her body was washed and placed in an upstairs room. Lydda was near Joppa, so when the disciples heard that Peter was in Lydda, they sent 2 men to him and urged him, "Please come at once." When Peter went with them, and when he arrived, he was taken upstairs to the room. All the widows stood around him crying and showing him the robes and other clothing that Dorcas had made while she was still with them. Peter sent them out of the room. Then he got down on his knees and prayed. Turning toward the dead woman, he said, "Tabitha, get up." She opened her eyes, and seeing Peter, she sat up. He took her by the hand and helped her to her feet. Then he called for the believers, especially the widows, and presented her to them alive. This became known all over Joppa, and many people believed in the Lord. Peter stayed in Joppa for some time with a tanner named Simon. So, yeah, we don't hear a whole lot about Tabitha or Dorcas. But that first sentence, in Joppa, there was a disciple named Tabitha. So she was a disciple. She was a follower of Christ. Important. That's really important. The second thing we know about her is she was always doing good and helping the poor. So 2 really key statements that people remembered about her when they wrote about her. 1, that she was a disciple, and 2, that she was always helping the poor. She was always doing good. So, I find that's what people are going to remember, that she was a disciple, she was always helping the poor. Will people remember that about me? Will they remember that first and foremost, I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ? Is that what people are going to think of first and foremost? I hope so. Most people, I think everybody I know knows that that I'm a disciple of Jesus. I hope that comes out not just in my title as pastor, right, or the fact that I go to church every Sunday, but I hope it also comes out in my behavior, in my actions towards others, in my words, in my thoughts, and so forth. She always did good and was helping the poor. Always doing good and helping the poor. I don't know if people would know what I do to help the poor. I don't know if people would know the good I'm doing. I don't know that I do enough visible good. I'm not saying I never do good. I never help the poor, but I don't do that in a way that is evident to others. Should it be? Maybe Tabitha was a good example for others. So maybe that's important. Not to say, ooh, look at me, look at how good I am because I do good and I help the poor, but so that we are a good example to others and so that God is glorified, right? They knew she was a disciple and she did good. So because we know she does good and we know she's a disciple, maybe the two has something to do with each other, right? So when the world sees us disciples doing good, they may make that connection. Wow, they do good because they're disciples. That's a great legacy, not just to the people who know her well, not just to the other Christians, other disciples, but to those who are not believers. That is a really great legacy. Oh, that's that woman. She always did good. She was always helping the poor. And she was a disciple. She was a believer in Jesus. What's the connection? We want people to see what we do and say, oh, what's that connection with God, with their relationship with God, with their relationship with Christ? The second thing I got to thinking about around all this is not just what will people think about us when we're gone, but really what hole will be left, what needs to continue that will not continue because nobody picks that up. What if she's the only one who does good and helps the poor? Well, when she dies, and yes, she was raised from the dead, but she will die again. We all do. So when she's gone, if she's the only one who's doing this, who's going to do it? I think it's important that we look around to the people who are around us who are doing good, who are doing things in the church, who are doing things for others. Maybe there's somebody who takes meals to people when they're sick, or the person who leads the children or the youth in your church, or the person who even does the finances. Have you considered their work, what they're doing? Have you considered what will happen when they're gone? What if they maybe not die, but maybe they have to move? Maybe they have to go be with family. Maybe they have to move into an assisted living facility and can't get out as much. Maybe they have to give up their vehicle and can't travel. Maybe they can't get around the same way. Whatever it is that keeps them from doing what they've always been doing. Who's going to pick that up? Is that something that I could learn? Is that something I could come alongside of them? And it may be hard. I mean, you're not going to want to walk up to somebody and say, hey, I see you teach the children's Sunday school class every week, and someday you're going to die, so can I take over for you? Not a good approach, right? Not a good approach. But maybe you can say, hey, I see you do this every week. Can I come alongside you and learn what you do? Can I come alongside you and help occasionally? Figure out what they do. Learn how to do it. And there's a responsibility for those who are doing these good things too. So, finances are always a big deal in churches, and I have heard all kinds of things over my experience in the church where people will not give up handling the finances. The treasurer will quit over my dead body, right? Well, that may happen, and it will happen someday, but hopefully you've trained your replacement before that, because when you're gone, it's too late to train somebody, right? So maybe, you you find somebody and rotate that responsibility. I belong to an organization where two of us have served as treasurer repeatedly year over year. I mean, we don't switch every year, just every few years we swap. We're both on the bank account. We both have access to the files. We both have access to everything. Right now, I've been that treasurer for quite a little while, but maybe it's time to shift. I'm still on the bank account. I could still take over if needed, but two of us know what's going on at any given time. You know, and maybe with a Sunday school class, it's important to have somebody who can, maybe you teach quarterly, right? So that more people know how to do this. Maybe it's taking meals to the shut-ins. Maybe it's doing a service of prayer and worship at a nursing home. Is there only one person who does that? I've heard so many times where one person does that and that person gets transferred somewhere else or they die and then nobody does this. Oh, we haven't had a worship service in this nursing home since, you know, Reverend Jones passed away 20 years ago. Well, that shouldn't be. That shouldn't be. So how can we do this? So it's interesting. There's two things that has caught my attention in this passage. One is that legacy. What are you leaving behind? What will people remember about you? The first thing they remembered about Tabitha was she was a disciple. Second thing, she was always doing good, and hopefully the world will connect those two things. The second thing is, what is going to be missed? Who am I seeing out there that something's going to be missed if they can no longer do this? And what is my part in that? Can I help? Can I take over? Can I offer to come alongside and learn, and then be willing to learn, right? Not just step in and do it my way, but to be willing to learn. Yeah, this is an interesting passage because I've heard this, I've heard this before over the years. But when we read it during prayer time, on weekdays when we have our prayer time, we always read a section of scripture, and we read it on Monday because it was the first reading for this coming Sunday's lectionary selections. And something just triggered. And then I read it for one of my pit stops, because I always read the 4 scriptures for my pit stops, or generally read them. And something just triggered, and I've kind of been thinking about Tabitha recently. And yesterday, as I was mulling this over, it began to come together. We need to make sure that double check our legacy and double check what's going to be lacking if somebody in our circle it passes away and is unable to do what they're doing now. It all comes to an end, right? We all come to an end. We are born terminal, as I say. We're always facing that day. And we need to be prepared for that day. Not just to say, oh, when I die, I'm going to heaven. Well, that's lovely, but what are you leaving behind? What have you done here? It's my hope that we all leave this place better than we found it. What's that look like for you? I'll be praying for you this week. And for all those mothers out there, happy Mother's Day on Sunday. Hope you have a great day. Hope you are just blessed by your children. Make sure you call your mom on Sunday and just say Happy Mother's Day. Doesn't need to be any more than that. Doesn't need to be big, expensive. Doesn't need to be flowers or anything like that. Flowers fade. Cards, they fade. They end up in a box somewhere. But boy, when you call your mom, it feels good. Have a great day. I will see you next week along the Bending Road. It was great to have you join me today along this Bending Road. You can connect with me on social media or on my website at bendingroad.weebly.com. I would love to pray for you as you navigate the bends in your road. Remember, when you see the bend in your road, do not be afraid. Take the hand of God and keep walking. You are not alone.